Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, freshly blacktopped Walnut Street. I think they did a lot last night. I could see that the roads were closed off from my window. And also YouTube went down temporarily for about a half hour. I checked the down detector, which is old school. Like, I almost forget every time, like, you can report stuff to down detector. Like, is there something going on with this, social media website? And sure enough, hundreds of thousands of comments, a spike in the, YouTube went down. There were people trying to live stream stuff, or people trying to watch YouTube TV. And it was down for a little while. It would seem like it was at least on laptops, at least on like some sort of provider to laptops. On my phone, I could pull it up, at least when I checked on my phone. But on my laptop, I was watching, sometimes I watch like Oliver the Beagle, and I like to do very ASMR-ish friendly things. And all of a sudden it said you're offline, retry or whatever. Because I live in a building where it's like free Wi-Fi shared, it's like being at Starbucks. You like click on the Latham and it has a encrypted thing to show you that it's safe, but still, I was like, maybe it's our connection, because that's happened before. So I tried to reboot, did all the things you're supposed to do with you choose available networks, which is, I re-chose it, reconnected, the whole 9 yards. I was like, I think it's actually YouTube, because when you press on a video, then it goes into offline. But it appeared on the homepage as if it were still up. So, anyway, so this is the freshly painted. So all this was going on. YouTube was down for half hour. Everybody was, and there was a lot of activity outside last night. I thought, I looked out the window and I was like, oh my gosh, something must be going on in general, because a lot of people were milling around. I'm like between 6:30 and 7 a.m. on a Thursday now, and there's quite a few people. Of course, there's people who work out and do their, yoga or running or what have you. Those are the two most popular activities here in Philly, it seems, in terms of getting a workout in. I'm not near a city fitness gym, otherwise you'd see people doing other things. But around these here parts, you're either running or you're heading off to yoga. So, anyway, so YouTube was down, huge spike. Something must have gone offline for a half hour for a lot of customers, a lot of people in general. And then it came back on finally. Sometimes I watch a live streamer called the Mob Crew, and he handles, people without a voice, like the missing, and the voice of the missing, stuff like that. So sometimes I watch him because for some odd reason, I just let him play, and then sometimes it helps me go to sleep. I'm not sure why he has that effect, but he kind of goes through all kinds of things with the Sebastian Rogers case and stuff like that, and these are dark matters that I don't always love. I have to be in a mood, and it's like, I'm going to turn him on. But luckily YouTube came back on about 15 minutes or so before he would go live. Is that right? I'm trying to think of the time. So he went live last night at 8:45 Eastern Standard Time. Although he's in Utah. I believe he's in West Valley City, Salt Lake City, something like that. West Valley City is basically like a little borough of Salt Lake City. It's part of Salt Lake City. So, anyway, all this freshly blacktopped. I noticed there's a strip in front of the bus shelter in front of my building. Even the sealant. You see how shiny it is and everything. So they got the job done. The road has been sort of chopped up. I know Salt Lake City enough. In fact, I walked around West Valley City sort of on break while, get this, going to truck driving school. Technically, now today I would have a harder time. Technically, I drove and can drive an 18-wheeler truck, at least during test exams. And this does include on the road. It's not over the road long haul. The pandemic showed up. There are a whole bunch of things going on. good trainers weren't available, especially for women, back when I finished up the whole school. And by the way, I would recommend never ever going to trucking school unless you are in the depths of hell in the Bronx or Brooklyn and you're like, how do I get out of this, you know? That might be an option, and maybe the gods will come along and like push you through. But as someone who probably should never drive a truck, I was really desperate. And in Florida, they recruited heavily for truck drivers. I actually passed the test, and they sent me over to Salt Lake City for CR England, C.R. England. They wound up in a class action suit. So I wound up getting like, you know, all told, like maybe upwards of $25 to $50. It was, you know, a huge class action suit. And I also filed a report because the antics, there were shenanigans and antics, and I thought it was strange. So we'll leave it at that. In fact, I mean, I have a certain type of education, and I thought it was intimidating that they passed around a law book in the beginning. I call this the CIA really, even though it's not. It's, you know, has to do with what's around it and everything. Wonderland and Pleasure Chest and a psychic, you know, for the strange agencies. But anyway, CR England, they passed around law books or dictionaries. Then they had to take an exam, but they made it seem like you had to pass like 100%. The wording was so confusing. Like, I feel like the people who were there are of a certain mindset, and they didn't stress it too much. They knew it was sort of like just whatever. I thought that they made it seem like you had to pass with flying colors or perfectly. And it's like, technically, the wording was so confusing. You could get really confused. Like, you know how the law is, because they flip things linguistically. It can get really, you know, loopy. I am actually educated in language, so even for me, I was like, that is tricky, and half these people are trying to escape their bad upbringings, and they wouldn't know what's going on there. And it's like the gods will be able to play a million tricks and prove that they can get someone through an exam or not get someone through an exam, because no one knows how to read that well. Like, you have to actually have that as your discipline to understand what was going on with language. Luckily, I had written an article many years ago for a lawyer in Florida, no less, went to University of Florida Law School, Sylvia Wobble. And she kept flipping language back and forth. And I had a little bit of an assumption going in. I thought she was representing a handicapped person. She was actually appealing the case of a handicapped person. And I just assumed she was helping the handicapped person, but they saw the handicapped person as taking advantage of the system. But the language kept going back and forth, that I was like, oh, she's actually against the handicapped person. So that's what I mean. They can flip around and confuse people right quick if you don't have an education.